Match Sim Friday, Tiger fans. It's our favourite day of the week. Don't worry about Hump Day. It's all about Match Sim Friday here for the Richmond supporters. Big day today. Quite a few people were able to get down to Punt Road, it seems, to have a look at some Match Sim. First and foremost, Richmond, let them in. Let the people in and sit in the stand. Stop making them look through a fence. There was already other media people in there, so why not just open it up? But anyway, that's an argument for another day. But straight off the bat, I've seen 3 or 4 really good bits of information and reports about the match simulation today. So shout out to Tiger26 from Punt Road End, to Tigertron on Twitter, and to Chris on Twitter as well. Some were posting photos and videos as well. It was awesome to see. I'm not sure if everyone else was tracking all their movements on Twitter, but I was smashing refresh like a madman today, just trying to get any type of update to see what was happening in Match Sim. That's what we've been reduced to here. This is how much we're looking forward to the 2025 season. But all 3 of them were kind enough to put forward some thoughts on the socials, which we'll have a read through and pick out some good pieces of it to share with you all, because we all love a bit of Match Sim update. So it sounded like it was 3 quarters of Match Sim, or 3 periods of Match Sim, however you want to view it. Apparently fairly windy conditions at Punt Road today. So quarter 1 there was a few more turnovers and some sloppy kicking, but they seemed to adjust for the second and third, which was really good. Centre bounces, I know that's probably been a bit of a bugbear for a few of us for a number of years in terms of the lack of any type of setup or purpose in there. But it seemed like from everyone's reports that centre bounces look to have been a bit more structured this year. And even the times where the ball got cleared, but it wasn't to the coach's liking, they were stopping and resetting it and making him do what's been asked of him to do. So that's good from a learning perspective. You want to see them have to keep drilling in what we want to get out of these centre square stoppages, because we just had no rhyme or reason last year, and it just seemed like a waste of time, to be honest. The ruck battle, again, I don't want to get too far ahead, but from all different reports from different people, the consensus was it was still a pretty even ruck battle, and Samson Ryan's, coming to the party, which is good, because it really helps back up my theory that he's going to hopefully progress and take this big next step. And like I said, I know a lot of people have shit-canned me for my video on Samson Ryan, saying they've written him off. He's only coming into his ruck years now, all right? This is when it starts to get a bit more serious for the big men. So hopefully that keeps continuing. So that's good to hear that the rucks was a pretty good even contest. Tom Brown, a lot of good reviews on Tom Brown, that he just looks a level above, which is what we've kind of come to expect. And I think they've maybe just been semi-cautious with him with that non-contact cap on. I'm not sure if he had it on today or not, but keen to see him back at AFL level, because, like I've said before, he is a genuine weapon. Sonzi seemed to get a little bit more involved up the ground more, which was interesting. Did some nice things, which was noted by Tiger26, but also had some moments that weren't so great, which is, unfortunately, as much as I've said and would love to see him get a lot more midfield time to see what he's got, at the end of the day, you've got to eradicate a lot of the brain fades as well to justify that happening. Is it a confidence thing? I'm not too sure, but good to hear he's getting involved with it, and hopefully he can build off that and keep progressing. Some of the youngsters, Sammy Lawler started forward, which everyone had mentioned on their reports, pretty much playing what you would envision the Dusty role being playing up forward. And everyone just said he looks good, and I think everyone who was there watching today all unanimously felt that he needs to be playing in round 1 ASAP. Second quarter, he went to the midfield, had a strong clearance, breaking off tacklers, hitting passes, doing all the right things, and just looks fit and like match hardened just from some of the images that you see, which is awesome. So yeah, very good news from Sam Lawler. I think Jasper Alger played a little bit as well. He had some strapping as a precaution from that hyperextension of the knee the other week. A few people said that Sims was looking really good too, and apparently he's still growing, believe it or not. He is a big unit. He's going to get even bigger. So it sounds like Sims is giving the club some really positive energy and some good hope that he's going to turn into a quality player down the line, which is good. Flipping to the other end of the ground, unfortunately, it seems like Jacob Blight came off with a bit of a shoulder stinger, which I think Sarah Black posted on her Twitter account. She was at training as well. So I'm not sure the extent of the injury, but hopefully it's not too bad. Still a long time before round 1, obviously. But with Bolter missing the first 4 games, it feels like it's out of Kaczynski and Blight for that spot, that defensive spot. And while Blight had been doing well, the injury may set him back a little bit, depending on what it was. He did look in a bit of discomfort. But to talk about Cozzy for a sec, he played on Tom Lynch, and quite a few people had mentioned he looked pretty good down there. Got outpositioned a couple of times, but I mean, if we're being fair and reasonable, Lynch is one hell of a key forward and been doing it in that role for his whole life. So I don't think there's any shame in that happening. Didn't maybe stick as many marks as he would have liked, but he probably seemed like the most likely of the key defenders from everyone's observations, which is really interesting. And I know there was an article that came out sort of pushing forward Kazitsky's case, and I think him reinventing himself as a defender was literally the only chance he probably has of playing AFL football. So it's honestly really pleasing and good to hear that he's making the most of it. And you know what? If he puts his hand up and he's the best option and for that position, then so be it. He plays. As long as he can kill the contest and be ultra competitive and negate the best forward each week, then that's all we can ask. But it seems like he's putting his best foot forward. So maybe because he's a bit of a watch this space for a round one start potentially. Trezise seemed to look good. Looks like a natural AFL player, which we love to hear. And like we've said before, we would absolutely love to see Trezise get an injury-free run at this, because he does have a lot of AFL qualities. And you just want to see him play, because you know you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself, but you just feel like he's going to make it. So let's hope that keeps trajecting in the right way. The other good note I saw was that there was some very fast and aggressive kick-out strategies, so not always little chip to the back pocket. People are seeing us go up the middle nice and quick, which is good. I mean, you can't do that all the time. That's not sustainable and not going to work for every kick-out, but it's very pleasing to the ear to hear that we've got some different kick-out methods than just that chip to the pocket to Ben Miller and then bomb down the line. Like, as we've covered, is an absolute horrid tactic, and I hope it was just done because we just shelved everything else for the rest of 2024. So that's good to hear. Some other points that came from Tigertron from Twitter. He also mentioned that Law looks really good. Taj Houghton running, which is good to see. Josh Gibcus running on the grass, which is obviously good as well. He mentioned Lafau running at full pace, which is good. And Juddy Clark, there's a few people mentioning Juddy Clark, so he is itching to get back out onto the park. He was the boundary umpire for two or three quarters. So he's moving really well, had a kick in between, and he is just itching to get out there. But I think the club is rightfully just taking their time and going easy with it. But yeah, it seems like it's a March, April thing for him from what the club said. He obviously wants to be out there a little bit sooner, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. Kane McAuliffe was back training today as well. So he had a foot issue, which is what was keeping him out, which no one seemed to really know about. Like, we all knew he wasn't in the main training group, but none of us seemed to know why. But it sounds like it was a foot issue. I'm not sure if that means a hot spot or what that means. But he played for the yellow team out there. And Tigertron said he mentioned he looked pretty good out there in the midfield with Thompson Dow alongside him. Dion Prestia played a quarter as well, and then was off for just precautionary. He had mentioned to Chris that he's still feeling really, really good. So it sounds like we're starting to really manage his minutes and workload from a training perspective as well. Morris Rioli Jr. did some nice things in the first quarter, which was good. Although I must admit, I would like to see and hear a bit more of Morris Rioli. You really want to hear him ramping up. I know there's still, like I said, a long time to go, but I want to hear about him getting more and more involved as the weeks roll on. Tom Lynch, unfortunately, went off with a concussion injury. It sounds like from the people that were there reckon it must have been from his head hitting the ground, because there wasn't any obvious player-on-player collision or anything like that. So he obviously would be a little bit dejected about that, because he's had a pretty stellar preseason so far and pretty uninterrupted. But I mean, the risk of this is a little bit of silver lining. If Tom Lynch is going to go down with an injury in preseason, you would rather it be a concussion than soft tissue. If you had to pick one, I'm not at all saying that I'm glad he's injured, of course, but at least it's not a hamstring or anything like that. So he'll probably sit out for a couple of weeks, you would imagine, and they'd be very cautious on that front too before getting him back into it. But the two players of the day that seem to be pretty universal from everyone who went and watched today, Jacob Hopper was probably the second best player for the day, but the standout that everyone made mention of was Jack Ross. And I'm super pumped for Jack Ross, to be honest. Everyone mentioned he was the standout, looked clean, looked quick, strong moving through traffic, was evading players at stoppages and then hitting his inside 50s. Tigertron even sent through a bit of footage to me that, the ball was kicked down the line to a pack and Ross was able to extract it from the pack and run forward and get it inside 50. It's just good to see him having a really good run at it for pre-season. He obviously missed that 14 or 15 weeks last year and was looking pretty good before that. Maybe this is a breakout year for Jack Ross. He could be putting his hand up for a starting gig in the midfield. I'm really pumped for him, and I'm super glad that was the report coming out of training. And Seth Campbell, the other interesting one that I mentioned earlier, just to recap on that, seeing Seth Campbell in the midfield is interesting. It's probably not something that I didn't expect. I did expect it to happen eventually, but to hear it happening now already, I feel like that he's going to form part of a midfield rotation through the forward line, then through the midfield, which is good because you need some new faces in there. You need some new dynamic, new speed, new attacking prowess, all that kind of stuff. So seems like we're trying to get our blend right, which is promising because I just don't think we've had it right the last few seasons. So good to hear. Good to hear. But anyway, that is the Match Sim report for Friday. Again, a massive shout out to Tiger26, to Chris and Tigertron. Massive effort from everyone who went there, and just let them in to watch it. It's not that offensive. Let them in to watch instead of being through offense. But we appreciate all the reports and information you've all provided. Super great work, and yeah, let's see how we go for next Friday. But make sure you like and subscribe for more Richmond content, and I'll see you for the next video. Go Tigers!